Hello, good afternoon, 28th of October 2020. Offshore ship owner competitive advantage today is huge, dear ship owner. The intrinsic value of energy, it is not multiplied by, let's say, Coca-Cola 100 years. There is no risk in Microsoft 50 years. No, energy is infinity intrinsic value. Therefore, the banks and the investment brains are looking at this long-term perspective. Also, a company like Candina for generations since Captain Antonio Candina wrote, "I want to be a maritime officer" in 1899. Pharmacy Aramburu in Plencia, they still have a museum. Enrique, descendant from the Aramburus, and he still has a museum. How they used to get these recipes for the pharmacy from seafarers and officers, and that's how probably he got motivated to go to shipping. Now it's 4 generations. This intrinsic compound infinity value of offshore is strategical. First of all, I hope that the investment corporate companies know that the energy, it is something of value for infinity, and utility generated by ship owners, it is also strategical for governments because it supplies and guarantees this energy at the lowest possible cost, at the most ecological cost. And even with coronavirus, I hope that everybody sees that also at the least health cost. So it is not possible to calculate much the opportunity cost of the health cost, but I touch wood that if there is no incident, even brief, of one coronavirus more or less, let's go in the less side. Therefore, being local crew is the solution, which was already, but now with this coronavirus, it is even more imminent that the zero risk policy, it is strategic, and especially if you have a infinity project. Therefore, the value, it is very important to invest in. So, what is this video about? This video is to confirm these policies of diversified nationalities, local crewing, interest in Candina Group to have direct ship owner partners in the long term. We are very interested in the offshore sector because it is close to infinity. Our company has been also 100% a family company, now is fully owned by me, and therefore we are going to be here for infinity. And we are direct crew management company. So it's very important to have the same interests as ship owner. Our interest is to make more competitive the budget. Our interest is to have, first of all, zero risk. Our interest is the compliance, 100% indicators, digital, like this means. And our interest is to always provide the best solution for the ship owner in this infinity. So, for example, we could train local crew. We would need to work a bit more in this training and motivation, and local schools and local doctors and local PCR, local English training if the language on board the ship is English. But the advantage of the compliance in the crew management company at $120, even being the employer of the whole crew and being so competitive in your local coast offshore, for us is very strategical because it means long term, very long term, which for a lot of humans, 2 years investment into the stock exchange is long term. 6 months for a trader, it is very long term. And morning stock exchange to noon stock exchange is mid-term. But for us, as a fully owned company, the long term is 125 years or even more. And therefore, the policy for making safe, reliable, efficient compliance, then it is required today from ship owners to have a partner. Why? Because there is different regulations from this 1st of October of national minimum wage in the UK. There is from 1st of January in the UK is the Brexit regulations. From today in Latvia, we have this QR that is compulsory for entering or leaving Latvia for seafarers, and this we must comply with this QR in the telephones. And there is also new minimum wage regulations in the 1st of January in different places of the world that we have to comply with. There is artificial intelligence and innovation areas that at the moment are too expensive to be applied for personal interviews, but we have ways and means of taping the personal interviews of the top officers. There is ways to add the value of the ship owner and the value of the crew management company. Why? Because the crew management company, we have over 100,000 seafarers in our database. But of course, the ship owner has excellent personnel, local knowledge of the local trade, and they have the supply boats, and they have all the logistics and the control and the understanding of the local authorities and requirements. So together we can unite, match the strength in order to first, as I always mention, zero risk, work very hard towards identifying what kind of risks do we have today. For example, today we have the coronavirus. So we have to work in the local crew, yes or yes. Then we also have the compliance because it's changing throughout the world. And we also have the logistics for making the travel of the seafarers. And what other risks do we have? Then first, if health, then we have the environment, and we have to look at and train our seafarers in that respect. So we could do some preventive training for the environment of the seafarers. I think it's very, very important. And then we have into the risk of the compliance in the labor agreements and contracts. And in that respect, I hope that the local administration of your offshore community, that local government really puts their hands direct towards enlistment contract, wage scale, insurance, co-assurance of P&I for repatriation and maritime labor convention, minimum wages, I mentioned, any other specific requirements, sanitary assistance, pension plans. These kind of regulations, it might seem not important, but really having a compliance for all this, it's the expertise of the crew management company like us. We've been doing this for about 125 years. We know very well we have a standard set of conditions. Then why would this standard set of conditions not be applicable for the whole offshore world industry? You can do that today. Yes, you can, government. Thank you very much. Now let's go for the next step, which is tax-free declaration. Seafarers in Estonia got a tax-free declaration, so it is really a risk that we would try to avoid in this respect. Also, we have the VAT tax, which also we would appreciate to be zero for crew management companies worldwide. So we can compete under the same terms, conditions. Although, if that is not the case, then perhaps Panama can declare tax-free VAT and the profit tax. So then we will set all the companies in Panama. Same with Singapore. So then we will set all the companies in Singapore. Same, let's say, with Trinidad Tobago. Then we will do that. In Trinidad Tobago, we will set all our companies. And those that have not moved their brains, then will go gone. This is the tides that go out, up and down, sorry. So these are the tendencies that we are doing. We are uniting your fleet crew management with our compliance and also our database. And this is how we can go together in the long term. That's the only way I see out of this coronavirus. But we can be positive to understand that it was required for us to have multinational crew. It was for us to have one system for employment contracts and the wage scales and the compliance in the local regulations. We must have this digital means of communication and interview of the top officers. We must have again appraisal reports, the old system, captain instructions, how to fill the papers. We must go back and re-study the history, how the communications with the masters were in the past, and we must improve this by, for example, having personal interviews with the masters every month, 5 minutes, talk about the checklist, and we must also use the digital application we have with the database for the payrolls, for the rosters, for the certificates, for the audits, verification of the documents, and so on. So there is a lot of areas that the crew management company can really supply a technical human resources support to the offshore companies, adding compliance, zero risk, the best cost, and also investing in the long-term local pool of crew, which it is really the most competitive. And in case of risk like coronavirus, it is the best option. And that's how I foresee the offshore owners, which I hope that the investment bankers and investment companies really start thinking about the infinity intrinsic value and before making a decision where to invest offshore is first. Okay, and thank you very much indeed. Bye. Take care.